keep going back and forth with me, they never win. Leave the shit alone. Do your content, nigga. Do what you do. You feel me? You ain't never gotta talk about me again, bro. We ain't never gotta shake hands. We ain't gotta do nothing, nigga. My life gonna be great regardless. Your life gonna be great regardless. Nigga, don't make your whole fucking content about me. You ain't stream every goddamn day. You ain't do all this motherfucking content creation to talk about DDG every day. So let this be the last time.
And I seen the whole internet switch on a nigga, you know, because pictures can be very misleading. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not knocking anything on nobody, but I'm just speaking the truth as far as pictures can be very misleading, you know? My bro been going crazy, you feel me? And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the devil just be working, you feel me?
You're scrolling through Instagram when a video from DDG stops you cold. He's challenging Cinco to a boxing match with $100,000 on the line. DDG posted the challenge to his Instagram, and within minutes, the video started racking up hundreds of thousands of views. In the clip, the rapper and content creator sits in front of the camera with a serious expression. No jokes, no filters. You've been talking crazy for months now, DDG says, staring directly into the lens. Let's settle this like men. Boxing match. $100,000. I'll put my money up right now if you're really about what you say you are. The tone is firm, almost cold, and it's clear this isn't just content for clicks. DDG wants smoke. He continues, addressing Cinco by name and making it known that he's tired of the back and forth on social media. You keep running your mouth in interviews, on lives, everywhere. Let's see if you can back it up in the ring, DDG adds before the video cuts off. The comment section exploded immediately. Fans flooded in with reactions ranging from shock to excitement to concern. Some praised DDG for putting his money where his mouth is, while others questioned whether a physical fight was really necessary. Fellow artists and influencers started reposting the clip, adding their own commentary. Within hours, the challenge was the top trending topic on Twitter, with thousands of users debating whether Cinco would accept or back down. The energy around the call-out felt different from typical rap beef. This wasn't just subliminal shots in songs or petty arguments online. DDG was making a direct public challenge that put Cinco in a position where he'd have to respond one way or another. The stakes are high. $100,000 is serious money, but more than that, both artists' reputations are now on the line. If Cinco declines, he risks looking scared or like he's all talk. If he accepts, he's committing to a physical confrontation that could have real consequences. DDG made sure the challenge was impossible to ignore, and now the entire hip-hop community is watching to see what happens next. Promoters are likely already making calls behind the scenes, sensing an opportunity to turn this viral moment into a major event. But beyond the business and the spectacle, there's a real question forming in people's minds as they watch this unfold. Has the beef between these two artists crossed a line that shouldn't be crossed? And when does settling disputes in the ring stop being about entertainment and start becoming something more dangerous? The tension between DDG and Cinco didn't start overnight. For months, there had been subtle jabs, cryptic posts, and comments in interviews that hinted at growing animosity between the two. Cinco, a rising rapper from Texas, had made several remarks that many interpreted as direct shots at DDG's credibility in the rap game. In one interview, Cinco questioned whether DDG was a real artist or just an influencer who happened to make music. He suggested that DDG's success came more from his YouTube following than actual talent or street credibility. The comments struck a nerve, especially considering DDG had spent years building his music career and distancing himself from being labeled just a content creator. DDG didn't stay quiet. He fired back with subliminal lyrics in his tracks and pointed social media posts that fans quickly connected to Cinco. What could have been resolved privately instead became a public spectacle, with both artists seemingly committed to proving their point. Friends and affiliates on both sides started choosing teams, adding more fuel to an already volatile situation. The beef escalated from words to threats, with both camps making it clear they weren't backing down. Social media became the battleground, with each artist posting videos and messages that kept the drama alive and growing. The back and forth reached a peak when Cinco went on Instagram Live and made comments that DDG interpreted as disrespectful, not just to him but to his family. That's reportedly what pushed DDG over the edge and led to the boxing challenge. He felt that words weren't enough anymore, and that the only way to truly settle things was face-to-face in a controlled environment. But here's where things get complicated for viewers watching from the outside. When artists have beef, where's the line? In hip-hop, rivalry and competition have always been part of the culture. Diss tracks, lyrical battles, and even public call-outs are nothing new. They're often seen as part of the artistry and the competitive spirit of rap. But when the conflict moves from music to physical confrontation, even in a sanctioned boxing match, Does it cross into territory that's unhealthy? Some would argue that settling things in the ring with rules, referees, and proper safety measures is actually more civilized than letting tensions boil over into uncontrolled street violence. Others worry that promoting physical fights as entertainment normalizes violence and sends the wrong message, especially to younger fans who look up to these artists. There's also the question of pride versus safety. Both DDG and Cinco are young men with careers, families, and futures ahead of them. Is risking injury or long-term damage worth proving a point? Boxing isn't a game. Even amateur matches can result in concussions, broken bones, or worse. Professional fighters train for years and still suffer serious injuries. Neither DDG nor Cinco are trained boxers, which makes the potential for something going wrong even higher. And if something does go wrong, who's responsible? The artists themselves? The promoters who set it up? The fans who encouraged it? If you were in their position, with the whole world watching and your reputation on the line, would you take the fight to prove yourself? Or would you find another way to handle the conflict, knowing the risks involved? It's easy to have opinions from the sidelines, but when pride, money, and public pressure are all pushing you toward a decision, the choice becomes a lot more complicated. The challenge is out there, and now the ball is in Cinco's court. It didn't take long for him to respond. Within 24 hours of DDG's video going viral, Cinco hopped on Instagram Live with thousands of viewers tuning in to hear what he had to say. He appeared visibly heated, pacing back and forth as he addressed the camera. "This man really thinks he can just throw money around and make anything happen," Cinco said, his voice rising. "But I'm not one of these industry dudes who's gonna fold because you got a check. I'm really from the streets, and if you want this smoke, you can get it." While Cinco didn't immediately accept the boxing match in clear terms, he made it obvious he wasn't scared of DDG. "I don't need 100K to prove nothing to nobody," he continued. "But if we're really doing this, then let's make it happen. I'll humble you real quick." The live stream was chaotic, with comments flying in faster than anyone could read them. Supporters of Cinco hyped him up, telling him to beat DDG's ass and predicting an easy win. Others questioned whether he was really ready for what he was signing up for. The energy was intense, and it was clear that Cinco felt the pressure to respond strongly or risk looking weak. But here's where things get interesting. Cinco's response, while aggressive and confident, also revealed something deeper. He mentioned multiple times that he didn't need the money, and that this wasn't about a payday for him. It was about respect. That's a key point, because it shows that for Cinco, this conflict has become personal in a way that goes beyond typical rap beef. He feels disrespected, and in his mind, the only way to regain that respect is through confrontation. But does fighting in a boxing ring actually solve the core issue between them? Or does it just create a temporary spectacle that doesn't address the real problems? After Cinco's live stream ended, social media erupted once again. Clips from the stream were shared across platforms, with people dissecting every word he said. Some praised him for standing his ground, while others thought his response sounded more emotional than strategic. Fans started making predictions about who would actually win if the fight happened. Supporters pointed to his fitness routine and the fact that he's been working out consistently and even training in boxing for a while. Cinco's fans argued that his tougher upbringing and street mentality would give him the edge when things got physical. The debate became less about the beef itself and more about the hypothetical matchup. People started comparing their sizes, their builds, their stamina. YouTube channels and sports commentators began breaking down the potential fight like it was an actual professional bout. Mock fight posters were created and circulated online, with fans photoshopping both artists into boxing gear with dramatic taglines. The hype was building, and it seemed like everyone had an opinion on how it would go down. But beyond the excitement and the entertainment value, there's a real question that people started asking as the situation developed. Is settling beef through boxing the right move, or does it set a dangerous precedent? In the past, rap beef stayed in the music. Artists would release diss tracks, and the battle would be fought through lyrics, creativity, and skill. The winner was determined by who had the better bars, who could dismantle their opponent more cleverly, who the fans supported more. That tradition kept the competition artistic and, for the most part, non-violent. But in recent years, influencer boxing and celebrity fights have become massive business. It's created a new avenue for settling disputes that blurs the line between entertainment and actual violence. Some argue that regulated boxing matches are actually a positive outlet. Instead of letting tensions escalate into unpredictable street altercations, or worse, having a sanctioned fight with rules, medical staff, and supervision keeps things controlled. It gives both parties a chance to settle their differences in a way that, while physical, is at least structured and safer than the alternatives. Others worry that normalizing physical fights as a form of conflict resolution sends the wrong message, especially to younger audiences. It suggests that when words aren't enough, violence is the answer, even if it's dressed up as sport. There's also the impact on hip-hop culture itself. Does moving from lyrical battles to physical ones diminish the artistry that rap was built on? Does it shift the focus away from talent and creativity and toward who's tougher or who can throw better punches? And what happens to artists who don't want to fight but feel pressured to accept challenges like this to avoid looking weak? What do you think? Should artists be settling their differences in the boxing ring, or should beef stay in the music where it belongs? And if you were an artist in this situation, would you feel like you had a choice? Or would the pressure from fans and the public force your hand? While the drama plays out publicly on social media, there's a whole other layer to this situation that most fans don't see. The business side. Celebrity boxing has become a massive industry in recent years, generating millions of dollars in revenue through pay-per-view sales, sponsorships, and ticket sales. Promoters and managers are always looking for the next big matchup that will capture public attention and drive viewership. A fight between DDG and Cinco, two artists with substantial followings and an existing beef that's already gone viral, is exactly the kind of event that could pull serious numbers. According to sources in the entertainment industry, promoters reportedly reached out to both camps almost immediately after DDG's challenge went public. They see an opportunity to capitalize on the moment while the hype is at its peak. These aren't just random people trying to set up a backyard brawl. These are experienced promoters who've worked on other celebrity boxing events and know how to turn viral moments into profitable ventures. The conversations happening behind closed doors likely involve discussions about venues, broadcast deals, undercard fights, and the financial structure of the event. The initial 100K challenge from DDG might just be the starting point. If this becomes a legitimate promoted event, both artists could walk away with significantly more money, depending on how the deal is structured. But here's where it gets complicated. When there's this much money involved, it raises questions about motivation. Is this beef real, or has it become a business opportunity that both sides are now committed to playing up for financial gain? Some fans are starting to wonder if the entire conflict has been exaggerated, or even manufactured to create hype for a potential fight. It wouldn't be the first time that tensions were amplified for entertainment value and profit. The line between genuine animosity and performative beef for the cameras can get blurry, especially when there are financial incentives involved. There's also the influence that these promoters and business interests can have on the artist's decisions. When you have people in your ear telling you that a fight could make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, that it'll boost your profile, that it'll prove you're a real one to your fans, that kind of pressure can be hard to resist. Even if part of you knows that fighting might not be the smartest move, the combination of money, ego, and outside voices pushing you toward the ring can override better judgment. Young artists in particular might not have the experience or support system to fully evaluate the risks versus the rewards. Then there's the matter of contracts and liability. If this fight moves forward officially, both DDG and Cinco would likely be required to sign extensive legal agreements. These contracts would cover everything from medical clearances to liability waivers to behavioral clauses. They'd need insurance policies in place, medical staff on site, and probably legal representatives present. The business infrastructure required to make a legitimate celebrity boxing match happen is substantial, and it's not something that gets thrown together overnight. The fact that discussions are reportedly already happening suggests that people with experience in this space are taking it seriously and moving quickly. But all of this business maneuvering brings us back to a fundamental question. Are promoters and money influencing this decision more than the actual beef itself? If DDG and Cinco were just two regular people with a dispute, would they be planning to box each other, or would they handle it differently? The presence of financial incentives changes the entire dynamic. What might have been resolved with a conversation or even just time and distance now has external forces pushing it toward confrontation because that's what's profitable. It's worth considering how much autonomy the artists actually have in this situation. When the public is watching, when promoters are making offers, when your peers and fans are weighing in with expectations, how free are you really to make the decision that's best for you? The machine of entertainment and profit can be powerful, and once it starts moving in a certain direction, it can be difficult to stop or redirect it. Do you think the business side of celebrity boxing is pushing these artists toward a fight they might not otherwise take? Or do you believe the beef is genuine and the financial opportunities are just a bonus? And if you were advising either DDG or Cinco right now, what would you tell them about the risks and rewards of moving forward? Beyond the money and the hype, there's something that doesn't get talked about enough in these situations: the very real physical risks involved. Boxing isn't a casual activity. It's a combat sport that, even with protective gear and rules in place, carries significant potential for injury. Professional boxers spend years training their bodies and learning defensive techniques to minimize damage, and even they suffer concussions, broken bones, and long-term brain trauma. DDG and Cinco, whatever their personal toughness or street credibility, are not professional fighters. Neither has the years of training and experience that would prepare them for what actually happens when you step into a ring with someone trying to hit you as hard as they can. The most concerning risk is head trauma. Concussions can have immediate effects like dizziness, confusion, and memory loss, but they can also lead to long-term problems, including chronic traumatic encephalopathy, known as CTE, which has been found in many former boxers and football players. Even one significant blow to the head can cause lasting damage. Both DDG and Cinco are in their 20s, with entire careers and lives ahead of them. A serious injury sustained in a boxing match could affect their ability to make music, perform, or even just live their daily lives without complications. Then there are other injuries to consider. Broken noses, fractured eye sockets, broken hands, damaged ribs. All of these are common in boxing and can require surgery and lengthy recovery periods. If either artist sustains a visible injury, it could affect their public image and their ability to work. DDG, who's also a content creator and often appears on camera, could find his brand impacted by visible damage from a fight. Cinco, who's building his music career, might find it difficult to perform or record if he's recovering from injuries. But the risks aren't just physical. There are career consequences to consider as well. What happens if one of them loses badly? In the age of social media, a knockout or a one-sided beating would be captured, replayed, memed, and immortalized online forever. The loser would face not just the immediate embarrassment, but potentially long-term damage to their reputation and credibility. In hip-hop, image and respect are currency. If you're known as the guy who got knocked out in a boxing match, that label could follow you throughout your career. Fair or not, perception matters in the entertainment industry. There's also the possibility that things could escalate beyond the fight itself. Boxing matches are supposed to be contained, controlled events, but emotions run high. What if one person feels disrespected by the outcome? What if their crews get involved? What if the beef doesn't end in the ring, but instead intensifies? History has shown that sometimes these public confrontations don't resolve conflicts, they make them worse. The potential for the situation to spiral into something more dangerous is real, and it's something both artists would need to consider seriously. Friends and family members of both DDG and Cinco are reportedly expressing concerns privately. People who care about them don't want to see them get hurt, and they're questioning whether proving a point is worth the risks involved. There have been attempts by mutual acquaintances to reach out and mediate, to see if there's a way to de-escalate before things go too far. But with so much public pressure and so many eyes watching, backing down becomes extremely difficult. Neither artist wants to be seen as weak or as someone who talks big but won't follow through. The weight of those expectations can be crushing. When thousands or millions of people are watching your every move, commenting on your decisions, questioning your toughness, it creates an environment where making the smart choice becomes harder than making the brave choice. Even if privately you have doubts, publicly you feel like you have to project confidence and willingness to go through with it. If you were close to either of these artists, what would you say to them? Would you encourage them to fight and handle their business, or would you try to talk them out of it? And how do you balance respect for their autonomy and their right to make their own decisions, with genuine concern for their safety and future? The public reaction to the potential DDG versus Cinco fight has been massive, and it's split the hip-hop community right down the middle. On one side, there are fans who are fully supportive and excited about the matchup. They see it as two artists putting their pride on the line and handling their beef in a structured, legitimate way. These supporters argue that at least a boxing match is regulated and supervised, unlike street altercations that could happen without any safety measures in place. They respect the fact that both DDG and Cinco are willing to back up their words with action rather than just talking online forever. On social media, this group has been creating content around the potential fight, making prediction videos, posting training tips for both artists, and hyping up the event like it's a major sporting occasion. The excitement is genuine. For these fans, celebrity boxing has become an accepted and even celebrated part of entertainment culture. They point to other successful celebrity boxing events that generated huge viewership and gave people what they wanted to see. They argue that if both parties consent and proper precautions are taken, there's nothing wrong with it. On the other side, there's a significant portion of the community that's concerned or outright opposed to the fight happening. These are people who feel that the beef has gone too far, and that resorting to physical confrontation, even in a controlled setting, isn't the answer. They worry about the message it sends, particularly to younger fans who might see violence as a legitimate way to handle disputes. They also express concern about the artist's safety and the potential for serious injury. Some argue that this isn't what hip-hop should be about, that the culture was built on lyrical competition, creativity, and skill, not on who can punch harder. Industry veterans have weighed in as well. Some older artists and producers have taken to social media and podcasts to share their perspectives, often cautioning against letting beefs escalate to this level. They've seen how conflicts in hip-hop have turned tragic in the past, and they don't want to see history repeat itself. While they acknowledge that a sanctioned boxing match is different from street violence, they still question whether it's necessary or wise. Several have attempted to reach out privately to both camps to encourage dialogue and de-escalation. The division isn't just among fans and artists, it's also among peers in the industry. Some rappers and influencers have publicly taken sides, either supporting DDG or backing Cinco. Others have tried to remain neutral while calling for peace. A few have made it clear they think the whole situation is manufactured for attention and money, expressing cynicism about whether the beef is even real. This has added another layer of complexity, with accusations flying about who's clout chasing and who's genuinely involved in a serious conflict. Comments on social media platforms range from supportive to critical to outright mocking. On Twitter, hashtags related to the fight have trended multiple times, with users posting everything from serious analysis to jokes and memes. On Instagram, both DDG's and Cinco's posts related to the situation have received hundreds of thousands of interactions. TikTok has been flooded with videos of people reacting to the challenge, making predictions, and even staging fake training montages. The level of engagement shows just how much interest there is in this situation, for better or worse. But beneath all the entertainment and the spectacle, there are real people who care about these artists and are genuinely worried. Family members, close friends, and people who've been in their lives before the fame are reportedly expressing serious concerns. They see beyond the public personas and understand the real-world consequences that could come from this fight. They know that no amount of money or respect is worth permanent injury or worse. But their voices often get drowned out by the noise of the crowd and the momentum of the situation. There's also a generational divide in how people are viewing this. Younger fans who've grown up with influencer boxing as a normal part of entertainment tend to be more accepting of the idea. Older fans who remember when rap beefs were settled through music or sometimes tragically through violence tend to be more skeptical and concerned. This divide reflects larger questions about how culture evolves and what we normalize as acceptable entertainment. The discussion has even expanded beyond hip-hop circles. Mainstream media outlets have picked up on the story, with articles and segments discussing celebrity boxing culture and whether it's healthy or harmful. Mental health advocates have chimed in, suggesting that both artists might benefit more from conflict resolution and therapy than from physical confrontation. Some have called for platforms and promoters to be more responsible about what they choose to support and publicize. What's interesting is how invested people have become in a conflict that doesn't directly involve them. The passion on both sides of the debate shows how much people care, whether they're rooting for the fight to happen or hoping it doesn't. It raises questions about our role as observers and consumers of entertainment. Are we encouraging something that could lead to harm? Or are we simply allowing two adults to make their own choices about how to handle their disputes? Where do you stand on this? Do you think the community should support the fight if both artists want it? Or should there be more pressure to find a different resolution? And as someone watching from the outside, do you feel any responsibility for how this situation unfolds? Or is it entirely up to DDG and Cinco to decide? So where do things stand now? As of this moment, the fight hasn't been officially confirmed, but it's clear that discussions are ongoing. Both DDG and Cinco have made their positions known publicly. DDG has issued the challenge with $100K on the line, and Cinco has responded aggressively, making it clear he's not backing down. The groundwork is there for this to become a legitimate event if both sides can agree on terms and logistics. Promoters are reportedly circling, venue options are being explored, and the public interest is undeniable. All the pieces are in place for this to move forward. But there are still questions that need to be answered. Will both artists actually sign contracts and commit? Will their management teams and legal advisors allow this to proceed? Or will concerns about liability and risk cause one or both sides to pull back? Will the money being discussed be enough to make it worth the potential consequences? And perhaps most importantly, will cooler heads prevail and find a way to de-escalate before someone gets hurt? There have been reports, though unconfirmed, that mutual acquaintances and respected figures in the industry are working behind the scenes to mediate. The hope is that if the right people get involved, they might be able to facilitate a conversation between DDG and Cinco that could resolve the core issues without a physical fight. But with so much public momentum behind the boxing match idea, and with both artists having staked their reputations on not backing down, finding an off-ramp that doesn't make either of them look weak is challenging. The reality is that this situation has become bigger than just the two of them. It's become a cultural moment that people are watching closely. How it resolves will set a precedent for how future beefs might be handled. If the fight happens and goes relatively well, it could normalize celebrity boxing even more as a legitimate way to settle disputes in the entertainment industry. If it happens and someone gets seriously hurt, it could spark a backlash and calls for more responsibility from platforms and promoters. If it doesn't happen, both artists will need to navigate the public perception of why it fell through without damaging their images. For DDG, this challenge was about respect and drawing a line. He felt disrespected and wanted to put Cinco in a position where he'd have to either back up his words or back down. For Cinco, accepting or engaging with the challenge is about maintaining his reputation and proving he's not someone who can be intimidated. Both have valid concerns from their perspectives, but both are also at risk of letting pride override better judgment. The coming days and weeks will be crucial. Statements will be released, negotiations will continue, and social media will keep buzzing with speculation and opinions. Fans on both sides will continue to push their narratives and defend their favorites. The business side will keep working to make the numbers work if there's money to be made, and through it all, DDG and Cinco will have to decide what they really want out of this situation and what they're willing to risk to get it. What's clear is that this beef has reached a critical point. The challenge has been issued, the response has been made, and now action of some kind needs to follow. Whether that action is a boxing match, a public reconciliation, a continuation of subliminal shots in music, or something else entirely remains to be seen. But the pressure is on, and the world is watching. As this story continues to develop, it's worth reflecting on what it says about us as a culture. Why are we so drawn to conflict and confrontation? What is it about watching two people who don't like each other potentially fight that captures our attention so completely? Are we hoping for entertainment, for resolution, for vindication of our own opinions about who's right and who's wrong? And what responsibility do we have as the audience to consider the well-being of the people we're watching? These aren't easy questions, and there aren't simple answers. But they're worth thinking about as we follow what happens next with DDG and Cinco. This situation is about more than just two rappers with beef. It's about how we handle conflict, how we define respect, how we balance entertainment with safety, and how much influence money and public pressure should have over personal decisions. So what happens next? Will we see DDG and Cinco in a boxing ring, gloves on, fighting for 100K and their reputations? Or will this be another beef that eventually fizzles out, replaced by the next drama that captures everyone's attention? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the beef between DDG and Cinco has already gone further than most people expected, and wherever it goes from here will have implications that reach beyond just these two artists. What do you think the right outcome is? Should they fight and settle it once and for all? Or should they find another way to resolve their differences? And if you were in their position with everything on the line, what choice would you make?